Hello there, folks. This quick video today is kind of a simple poor man's on-off control valve application here. What I got in this application is we've got well, let me go to the overview here. Click here. So we got kind of this here application running, and we're going to have people manually open and close some valves in here. But right here is an analog valve from hot water that we can open and close from 0 to 100% on this particular valve. And we have here a flow meter, and depending on how much we open this valve will determine how much flow we have in here. Well, we want to set some flow rates and then open and close the valve to appropriately control our flow rate. So I'm going to show you a little demo of this, and I have over here, this little screen is mimicking the analog I/O that's out in the world. And so we have a 4 to 20 milliamp that's right here that's going to go to our valve. And then we have our gallon per minute flow rate that's going to come back. So let's say, for instance, that I want to get a gallon per minute flow rate of, say, 50 gallons per minute. Now, this is a 50 to 100, I'm sorry, a 0 to 100 range on our flow rate here. So if I put in the number 50 here, I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. And you're going to see the valve here is opening. That's the yellow line on this chart. Look, it opens all the way to 100%, but our gallons per minute is slowly ramping up. So that's the blue line on here. The red line happens to be our set point. So it's going to be solid. So I want you to watch what happens here as we get closer to the red line. Once we go past the red line with our flow rate, then the valve begins to close because we want to settle down on 50 gallons per minute. Then you can see we go past, we drop below, so then it opens up again. And as you watch here, I think this is absolutely fascinating. As you watch this, you can see the oscillations of our valve open and close smaller and smaller as we narrow down on our desired set point of 50 gallons per minute. So as you look here, as the tweaks go along, now of course the valve continually opens and closes because it's really trying to keep that 50 gallon per minute. So you're seeing here some very small fluctuations, but if you look at that, that's a pretty neat looking little control here application I got running. So if I was to say now, set this, well, I'm gonna leave that alone. Let me pretend here that there's a change in the flow. So if there was some kind of a thing that happened over here, let's say I go over here and I click on this, and let's pretend that the flow rate for some reason had a burst and it jumped to 70 gallons per minute. So you can see that it jumped up, but the system is going to react. Notice we instantly closed the valve. We said, oh boy, that's too much. So now it's going to open it back up, and you're going to watch the oscillations come back down as we try to get back to the 50 gallons per minute system here. So you can kind of see, I'll let it run on here. And eventually it'll zoom back out to how this is here after enough samples. But the important thing is you'll notice the valve is always just kind of tweaking to try to hold that set point there. So that's the logic that's happening here. Now let's say, for instance, I go jump this up to a higher value. Let's say I want the set point to go to 75 gallons per minute. So now the red line is going to jump right on up. Of course, the valve opens up 100%. Look at the gallon per minute flow rate ramp right up. See it right there ramping right up. And of course, once we overshoot our desired set point, we're going to begin to close the valve and then so forth. So you can see the oscillations happening here. Let this one kind of taper down a little bit here. Looks pretty good right there. Now again, if I was to simulate, maybe somebody flushed the toilet, so the flow kind of dropped for a second to 72. You can kind of see a little spike here. And of course the system is going to address that and re-massage the valve opening to address that drop in flow. So let's also say, what if I took it down to say 20 gallons per minute? So now I'm going to ramp this down to 20. Obviously, the valve is going to completely close to get down to 20 gallons per minute. You can see it's flowing down right here. Once it gets all the way down, obviously the flow rate would probably be much faster than this because we've actually shut off the whole flow. But anyway, you'll see here, it'll start to oscillate here. Of course, the valve is going to open and close, trying to get to maintain that 20 gallon per minute flow rate. So of course, back here at the overview, we can see those numbers right here on this particular thing, but I've got this trend viewer that's kind of showing a real world stuff here. So anyway, very fascinating application here. All I'm really doing in this simple on-off control is I'm running this little simple logic right here in the on background. So I'm saying if the flow is less than the set point, that's the desired, well, then I'm going to increase the valve opening here up to 100%. Oh, by the way, that's a 4 to 20 milliamp. I'll go back to that, showing that. And then if it happens to go above the set point, then I'm going to decrease the opening down to 0%. So this program right here, ironically, I believe is being run here. In this case, in the on update. I'm running this basically in the background, the on update as fast as possible. So that's what's happening on there. One more thing I wanted to show. The output is going 4 to 20 milliamp between 0 and 100%. So if I was to say ramp this up to the 50, just so you see, you'll see that the milliamp output will go all the way to 20 milliamps. Boom. That hopefully is fully open in this particular valve. And if I change the set point down to say 0 gallons per minute, it should go all the way down to 4 milliamps because that would be no flow. And it's going to try to get down to 0, which it'll get down to anyway. As you can see, it's lowering down. Anyway, you can, of course, tab out here. You can see all the playing around we did right there. Or you can also zoom in. And you can, of course, zoom back over here with the back arrow right to there. Whoops, I went too far. Right there. Yep. And, of course, go live. Anyway, I think that's pretty cool. Hey, thanks a lot. Have a great day, folks. We'll see you later.